Olá, sejam muito bem-vindos. Essa é a nossa segunda aula de inglês para o ensino fundamental para o 7º ano. Nessa aula, vamos trabalhar a habilidade EF07LI18, que significa utilizar o passado simples e o passado contínuo para produzir textos orais e escritos, mostrando relações de sequência e causalidade. Nessa aula, os alunos entrarão em contato com um texto de James Turber, chamado The Little Girl and the Wolf. Esse texto foi publicado originalmente em 1940. Trata-se de um pequeno texto, apenas de 2 parágrafos, que possui elementos e acontecimentos semelhantes à história clássica do Chapeuzinho Vermelho. Porém, apesar de fazer um diálogo com a história conhecida, esse texto contém diversos elementos diferentes e um final surpreendente. A partir dessas diferenças, Turber traz uma lição de moral. Ao final dessa aula, vocês terão planejado um pequeno conto baseado em uma história clássica.
At the end of this class, you will have written a planning for the writing of a very short tale, based on a classic story.
Ao final dessa aula, vocês terão planejado um pequeno conto baseado em uma história clássica. Para iniciar essa aula, vou pedir para vocês fazerem um brainstorm, que significa um debate entre vocês, sobre o que se lembram da história original do Chapeuzinho Vermelho. Como esse exercício deve ser feito em dupla, mas como é uma aula online, vocês podem fazer através do WhatsApp, ou vocês podem fazer individual mesmo, se preferirem, tá? Mas caso vocês queiram formar dupla, vocês podem formar pares por WhatsApp mesmo, ok?
Students, I want you to tell your partner what you remember about the story The Little Red Riding Hood.
Vamos conhecer um texto que faz um diálogo com a história clássica Chapeuzinho Vermelho e reconhecer as semelhanças e diferença entre os 2 textos. Na verdade, não será um texto, vamos trabalhar com um vídeo. São 2 vídeos que vamos trabalhar. Vou colocar o primeiro vídeo original e depois o vídeo do Turber, ok? Que faz relação com o texto do Turber. Vamos identificar os elementos presentes no texto que o tornam semelhante ou diferente da história original, para que vocês consigam analisar o texto, ou seja, para que vocês consigam analisar a história de maneira mais profunda, colocarei um vídeo curtinho das 2 histórias. Como a gente não está trabalhando presencial, não temos folhas. Então, vamos trabalhar através de vídeo aula, ok? Vamos trabalhar através do vídeo, da historinha. Aí, vocês analisam a história através do vídeo. Vamos lá? A primeira que eu vou colocar é a original do Chapeuzinho Vermelho. A duração dela é mais em torno de 5 minutos.
Little Red Riding Hood. Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her. Her mother loved her so much, so there was nothing that she would not have given to the child. Once she gave her a little riding hood of red velvet, which suited her so well that she would never wear anything else. So she was always called Little Red Riding Hood. One day, her mother, having made some cakes, said to her, "Go, my dear, and see how your grandmother is doing. Take her a cake and this little pot of butter. But whatever you do, stay on the path because the forest is very dangerous." Little Red Riding Hood set out immediately to go to her grandmother, who lived in another village. When Little Red Riding Hood entered the woods, a wolf came up to her. He had a very great mind to eat her up, but he dared not because of some woodcutters working nearby in the forest. Red Riding Hood did not know what a wicked creature he was and was not at all afraid of him.
"Good day, Little Red Riding Hood,"
said the wolf.
"And where are you going?"
"Hello," she replied. "I'm going to visit my grandmother, who lives on the other side of the forest. I'm going to take her some cakes," she said. The wolf knew the shortest way to the grandmother's house. He ran as fast as he could, taking the shortest path. As Little Red Riding Hood was going through the wood, she saw how the ground was covered with beautiful flowers. She thought, "If I take a bouquet to Grandmother, she'll be very pleased." And she ran off into the woods looking for flowers. Each time she picked one, she ran after another one, going further and further into the woods. It was not long before the wolf arrived at the old woman's house. He knocked at the door. Tap, tap. "Who's there?"
Your grandchild, Little Red Riding Hood.
said the wolf in a little girl's voice. The good grandmother, who was in bed because of some illness, cried out, "Oh, come in, my dear. Open the door. It's not locked." The wolf opened the door and hurried inside. He went straight to the grandmother's bed and ate her up. Then he took her clothes, put them on, and put her cap on his head. He got into her bed and pulled the curtain shut, expecting Little Red Riding Hood, who came sometime afterwards and knocked at the door. Tap, tap,
Who's there?
asked the wolf, imitating an old lady's voice. "It's Little Red Riding Hood. I brought you some cakes and a little pot of butter that Mother made this morning,"
Come in, my dear. Open the door. It's not locked.
said the wolf, and Little Red Riding Hood went in. Grandmother was lying there with her cap pulled down over her face and looking very strange. "Oh, Grandmother, what big ears you have!"
All the better to hear you with.
"Oh, Grandmother, what big eyes you have!"
All the better to see you with.
"Oh, Grandmother, what big hands you have!"
All the better to grab you with.
"Oh, Grandmother, what a horribly big mouth you have!"
All the better to eat you with.
And with that, he jumped out of bed, jumped on top of poor Little Red Riding Hood and ate her up. As soon as the wolf had finished this tasty bite, he climbed back into bed, fell asleep, and began to snore very loudly. A huntsman was just passing by. He thought it strange that the old woman was snoring so loudly, so he decided to take a look. He stepped inside, and in the bed, there lay the wolf.
He has eaten the grandmother, but perhaps she can still be saved. I won't shoot him.
Thought the huntsman, so he took a pair of scissors and cut open his belly. He had only cut a few strokes when he saw the red cap shining through. He cut a little more, and the little girl jumped out and cried, "Oh, I was so frightened! It was so dark inside the wolf's body!" And then the grandmother came out alive as well. The three of them were happy. The huntsman took the wolf's pelt. The grandmother ate the cake and a little pot of butter that Little Red Riding Hood had brought. And the little girl thought to herself, "As long as I live, I'll never leave the path and run off into the woods by myself if Mother tells me not to."
Bom, já terminamos o vídeo 1, agora vamos ver o vídeo 2. Vou colocar agora a outra historinha do Chapeuzinho Vermelho, da versão considerada que é uma versão para adultos e não para crianças pequenas. Então, prestem bastante atenção aos detalhes. O vídeo é bem curtinho, mas dá para você entender bem a historinha. Vamos lá, então?
Roald Dahl's Revolting Rhyme.
Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. As soon as Wolf began to feel that he would like a decent meal, he went and knocked on Grandma's door. When Grandma opened it, she saw the sharp white teeth, the horrid grin, and Wolfie said,
May I come in?
Poor Grandmama was terrified. "He's going to eat me up," she cried. And she was absolutely right. He ate her up in one big bite. But Grandmama was small and tough, and Wolfie wailed,
That's not enough. I haven't yet begun to feel that I have had a decent meal.
He ran around the kitchen yelping,
I got to have another helping.
then added with a frightful leer,
I'm therefore going to wait right here till little Miss Red Riding Hood comes home from walking in the wood.
He quickly put on Grandma's clothes. Of course, he hadn't eaten those. He dressed himself in coat and hat. He put on shoes, and after that he even brushed and curled his hair, then sat himself in Grandma's chair. In came the little girl in red. She stopped. She stared. And then she said, "What great big ears you have, Grandma,"
All the better to hear you with.
the wolf replied. "What great big eyes you have, Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood.
All the better to see you with.
The wolf replied. He sat there watching her and smiled. He thought,
I'm going to eat this child. Compared with her old grandmama, she's going to taste like caviar.
Then Little Red Riding Hood said, "But Grandma, what a lovely great big furry coat you have on,"
That's wrong!
cried Wolf.
Have you forgot to tell me what big teeth I've got? Ah, well, no matter what you say, I'm going to eat you anyway.
The small girl smiles. One eyelid flickers. She whips a pistol from her knickers. She aims it at the creature's head, and bang, 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 she shoots him dead. A few weeks later, in the wood, I came across Miss Riding Hood. But what a change. No cloak of red, no silly hood upon her head. She said, "Hello, and do please note my lovely furry wolf skin coat."
Students, this text has many elements that make it very similar to the classic story of the Little Red Riding Hood. The author wanted to make a modern version of the story, the fables of our times. We are going to read the text together and analyze it. Let backquote go.
O que foi dito em inglês significa: esses textos possuem muitos elementos que os tornam muito semelhante à clássica história do Chapeuzinho Vermelho, as fábulas de nossos tempos. Vamos ler o texto junto e analisá-lo? Vamos lá. Uma tarde, um grande lobo esperou em uma floresta escura por uma menina que chegava carregando uma cesta para sua avó.
One afternoon, a big wolf waited in a dark forest for a little girl to come along carrying a basket to her grandmother.
A little girl, a big wolf.
The author chose to use the indefinite article a to talk about the girl. Why? He uses some adjectives to describe the girl, the EOLF and the forest. Do you see any relation between them?
O autor opta por usar um artigo indefinido para falar sobre a menina. Por quê? Será que o lobo não esperava uma garota em especial? Ou será que ele esperava qualquer garota que aparecesse? Ele usa alguns adjetivos para descrever a garota, o lobo e a floresta. Você vê alguma relação entre eles? He uses some adjectives to describe the girl, the wolf, and the forest. Do you see any relation between them? O autor quer que pensemos aqui em uma garota pequena e frágil, em um lobo grande e perigoso, enquanto a floresta é um lugar escuro e inseguro. Is there any difference from the classic story? Existe alguma diferença com a história clássica? O que vocês acham disso? Até agora não há nada diferente da história que conhecemos, não é mesmo? Finally, a little girl that came along and she was carrying a basket of food. Finalmente, uma menina apareceu e carregava uma cesta de comida. The author uses the adverb finally here to show what? O autor usou o advérbio finalmente aqui para mostrar o quê? Que o lobo estava aguardando uma garotinha passar por lá há muito tempo. Ele provavelmente já estava desesperado.
Are you carrying that basket to your grandmother? Asked the wolf. The little girl said yes. She was. So the wolf asked her where her grandmother lived and the little girl told him and he disappeared into the wood.
O lobo pergunta para Chapeuzinho Vermelho: Você está carregando esta cesta para sua avó? Perguntou o lobo. A menina disse sim. Então o lobo perguntou a ela onde sua avó morava. E a menina disse a ele. E logo ele desapareceu na floresta. Where did the wolf go? Para onde foi o lobo? Para casa da vovó? How do you know that?
The text doesn't backquote T mention so far where he went exactly. We just
Como você sabe disso? O texto não mencionou até agora onde ele foi exatamente. Nós apenas sabemos que ele foi para a floresta. No, he went into the woods. Estamos nos referindo à historinha clássica, para que tenha um conhecimento prévio sobre a história para responder. Você sabe que o lobo foi para a casa da vovó porque conhece a história original, a historinha clássica, mas o texto não mencionou isso até agora, não é verdade?
You know the wolf went to the grandmother s house because you got that information from what you know about the classic story. If you didn't know that story you wouldn't know so far where he went. It s not mentioned. When the little girl opened the door of her grandmother s house, she saw that there was somebody in bed with a nightcap and a nightgown on.
Quando a menina abriu a porta da casa da sua avó, ela viu que havia alguém na cama, com uma touca de dormir e uma camisola. What's does somebody mean? Alguém. Ele usou aqui um pronome indefinido, alguém. O que alguém quer dizer? What does that mean in the text? O que significa no texto? Significa, assim que a garota chegou, ela já reconheceu que não era a avó deitada na cama. O autor escolhe o pronome definido provavelmente para causar dúvida no leitor, ou no telespectador, no vídeo, no caso. Havia alguém, mas quem? Sabemos que é o lobo porque conhecemos a história clássica, correto?
She had approached no nearer than 25 feet from the bed when she saw that it was not her grandmother but the wolf. For even in a nightcap a wolf does not look like any more like your grandmother than the Metro-Goldwyn-Lion looks like Calvin Coolidge.
Ela se aproximou a menos de 25 pés da cama, que significa isso, 7,5 metros. Quando viu que não era sua avó, pois mesmo no final da noite, um lobo não se parece mais com sua avó, do que o leão Metro-Goldwyn se parece com Calvin Coolidge.
In the classic story, the girl needs to get very close to the bed to realize that it was not her grandmother who was there.
Is it the same her? Na história clássica, a menina precisa chegar bem perto da cama para perceber que não era a avó que estava ali. É o mesmo aqui nessa história, nesse contexto? Não. Nessa história, a garota percebe que não é a sua avó, e sim um lobo logo que entra na casa. E avista a cama a 25 pés, ou seja, a 7,5 metros de distância. What does the man? Significa que a garota dessa história não é ingênua quanto a da história clássica. Pelo contrário, ela é muito esperta.
The author compares the similarity between the wolf and the grandmother to the similarity between the Metro-Goldwyn-Lion and Calvin Coolidge.
O autor compara a semelhança entre o lobo e a avó com a semelhança entre o leão, Metro-Goldwyn e Calvin Coolidge. Do you know anything about it? Vocês saberão falar sobre isso?
So the little girl took an automatic out of her basket and shot the wolf dead.
Então, a garotinha tirou uma automática da cesta e matou o lobo com um tiro. Foi isso que aconteceu? Então, vocês ficaram surpresos com o acontecimento dessa versão adulta do Chapeuzinho Vermelho?
This is the climax of the story, the most exciting moment. Why are you surprised?
Why are you surprised? Vocês não esperavam que a garota teria uma arma dentro da cesta, e muito menos que ela matasse o lobo, não é assim? Moral.
It is not so easy to fall little girls nowadays as it used to be.
Why does the author come to this moral? Fazendo uma analogia com o texto clássico, no qual a garotinha foi enganada pelo lobo e quase engolida por ele. Nesse texto, além dela não ter sido enganada por ele, ainda o matou e tirou a pele dele para se abrigar do frio. As possíveis referências a essa versão moderna são inúmeras. O fato de não aparecer nenhum adulto na história mostra que a criança teve que resolver o conflito sozinha. Muito legal o final dessa nova versão do conto, não é mesmo? Foi bem criativo.
Thurber had a goal in his mind when he rewrote the Little Red Riding Hood story. He wanted to criticize something from his time. According to what we discussed, he probably wanted to talk about the Great Depression, the American president Calvin Coolidge and the big success of MGM even in times of crisis. You also have to choose some message to pass through your text. What do you want to criticize? It can be something from your school, your family, your friends or whatever you feel be the read about.
O que significa que foi dito em inglês? Tobler tinha um objetivo em mente quando reescreveu a história de Chapeuzinho Vermelho. Ele queria criticar algo do seu tempo. De acordo com o que discutimos, ele provavelmente queria falar sobre a Grande Depressão, o presidente americano Calvin Coolidge e o grande sucesso da MGM, mesmo em tempo de crise. Você também deve escolher agora alguma mensagem para passar no seu texto. O que você quer criticar? Pode ser algo da sua escola, sua família, dos seus amigos ou o que quer que você se sinta incomodado. Você deve reescrever a história fazendo as alterações necessárias. É como se fosse uma paródia para mostrar sua opinião. Entende? Não precisa ser exatamente como a de Tobler. Você pode colocar sua imaginação para funcionar aí e fazer o que você bem entender. Lembre-se também de que seu texto terá apenas um parágrafo. Vai ser curtinho, tá? Escolha uma dessas historinhas e deixe sua imaginação fluir. Pode dar asas à sua imaginação. Aí o que eu vou precisar que vocês façam? Coloque o nome do conto original. Aqui você deve escrever o nome do conto. Você vai planejar seu texto com base nisso, certo? Sua crítica, você deve pensar no que você quer criticar, com base no tema que você escolheu, correto? Pode ser qualquer coisa com a qual você se sinta entediado ou algo que você queira que muda na sua vida. Deve ser algo pessoal. Aí agora você vai colocar o nome do seu conto, tá? Agora que você sabe o que deseja abordar no seu texto, escolha um título para ele. Aí depois de você escolher o título do seu texto, você vai criar os personagens. Por se tratar de um texto muito curto, você precisa escolher alguns personagens que farão parte da sua história e sobre quais você deseja escrever, correto? O tempo verbal será o mesmo do texto original, passado simples. O lugar, você deve escolher um lugar da história original para sua história acontecer. Onde está, certo? Deu para entender? Depende de qual parte do texto você deseja reescrever. Tipo de narrador. Como você também está escrevendo uma narrativa, que tipo de narrador você é? É um narrador observador ou que narra em terceira pessoa? Tudo isso você deve ter em conta na hora de escrever sua história semelhante a uma história clássica. E quais eventos da história originais você usará em sua história? Vai separando por tópicos. E o que você quer fazer diferente da história clássica, por exemplo, para atingir seu objetivo e criticar algo? Quais eventos serão diferentes? E no final da história você tem que definir o moral da história. Com base em tudo o que você pensou e escreveu na sua história, você tem que pensar na moral da história. O que quer dizer? O que você quer mostrar aos leitores? A conclusão da história, o que você quer passar aos leitores sobre a mudança da sua história. Você deve escrever um enredo de suas histórias baseada nessas instruções. Aí você escreve o enredo da história em formato de conto popular. Não precisa se preocupar com a coesão textual nesse momento, certo? Apenas se preocupem com que as frases estejam escritas no passado simples ou contínuo corretamente. Deu para entender? Certinho?
You must rewrite the story, making any necessary change to show your opinion. Also keep in mind your text will have just one paragraph. Based on your planning table, you must write the plot of the story, just the events that will happen. Don't worry to connect the sentences now.
Agora eu vou colocar 2 vídeos de contos diferentes para você escolher qual conto quer reescrever na sua versão. E criar os seus personagens baseado nessas historinhas. Você escolhe uma ou outra. O primeiro deles é o conto dos 3 ursinhos. O segundo é o conto da Cinderela. Esses contos vocês devem conhecer também, não é verdade? Os 2 vídeos são bem curtinhos também. E você pode escolher um deles e produzir sua historinha.
Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Once upon a time, a bear family lived in a cottage in the woods. There was Mother Bear, Father Bear, and Baby Bear. Today Father Bear made their porridge for breakfast. You made it too hot again, moaned Baby Bear. So Father Bear said, let's go for a walk, while it cools. Yes, let's, replied Mother Bear. As soon as the bears left, a little girl with golden hair pushed open the door and stepped inside. She didn't even wipe her muddy feet. Goldilocks was her name, and she was a very rude girl. She saw the 3 bowls on the table and took a taste from each bowl. She tasted Father Bear's porridge. Yuck, Too salty, she said. She tasted Mother Bear's. How horrid, she cried. Too sweet. Finally, Goldilocks tried the porridge in Baby Bear's bowl. This is just right, she mumbled with her mouth full, which is very rude thing to do. She ate up all of Baby's porridge and made a terrible mess too. After eating, Goldilocks sat down in Father Bear's chair. This one's too hard, she grumbled. She sat in Mother Bear's chair. This is way too soft, she grumbled again. What awful chairs. Then she spotted Baby Bear's little chair. I'll bet this one's just right, she said, and flopped into it. Crash. The chair broke into pieces and Goldilocks fell to the floor. But she just looked at the broken chair and muted. Who care? Soon Goldilocks began to feel sleepy, so she went upstairs to the bedroom. The naughty girl jumped on the big bed in her muddy shoes. This big bed is too bouncy, she shrieked. She said the middle bed was too soft. Then Goldilocks saw the tiniest bed. It looked perfect, so she jumped in, shoes and all. This is lovely, she said sleepily in the wink of an eye. She was fast asleep. When the bears returned from their walk, they could not believe their eyes. There was porridge everywhere. Good heavens, cried Mother Bear. Who made this big mess? Said Baby Bear. Someone's been eating my porridge, said Father Bear. Someone's been eating my porridge, said Mother Bear. Well, someone's been eating my porridge too, said Baby Bear. And they have eaten every drop. When they saw the chairs, Father Bear said, someone's been sitting in my chair. Someone's been sitting in my chair too, said Mother Bear. Oh, no, cried Baby Bear. Someone's been sitting in my chair and broke it into pieces. Let's look upstairs, said Father Bear. In the bedroom upstairs, Father Bear exclaimed, someone's been sleeping in my bed. And someone's been sleeping in my bed, said Mother Bear. Someone's been sleeping in my bed, squealed Baby Bear, and she's still there. The bear's loud voices woke Goldilocks, who looked in surprise at the three of them around the bed. Suddenly, she felt very ashamed of the mess and trouble that she had caused. Oh, dear, she sniffed. I'm so terrible sorry. Luckily, the bear were very kind. Don't worry about it, they said. So Goldilocks helped tidy up the messy cottage and Father Bear made fresh porridge. This porridge is just right, said Goldilocks politely. Later, the bears all walked Goldilocks home. The end.
Cinderella, a retelling of The Little Glass Slipper by Charles Perrault. Written by Olivia Gray. Illustrated by Suzanne Fiore. Once there was a girl named Cinderella. She lived with her mean stepmother and two very mean stepsisters. Cinderella dressed in rags. She worked all day long. She scrubbed the floors, cooked the meals, and washed the clothes. The others wore fancy gowns and didn't do any work. One day, the king's palace announced that everyone in the kingdom was invited to a grand ball. The prince planned to choose a wife from the maidens who were there. Cinderella wanted more than anything to wear a beautiful dress and go to the ball. The stepsisters laughed at Cinderella. "And what will you wear to the ball?" said one. "She can use a mop for a wig and cobwebs for her ribbons," said the other. Cinderella knew they were right. She didn't have anything nice to wear. That night, the sisters left for the ball. Cinderella sat in the garden and cried. "Don't cry, Cinderella," said a kind voice. "I'm your fairy godmother. I'll make sure you're the most beautiful girl at the ball." Cinderella was so happy to hear those words. "But how?" she asked. The fairy godmother told Cinderella to get 3 things: the mice from the traps in the attic, the rat from the trap in the hall, and a big pumpkin from the field. Cinderella quickly collected everything her fairy godmother asked for. The fairy godmother waved her wand. Suddenly, the 6 mice turned into strong white stallions with bridles made of rubies and emeralds. The rat became a gallant coachman. The pumpkin turned into a shining coach that sparkled brighter than the stars. Then the fairy godmother touched her wand to Cinderella's clothing. Her dress of rags became a beautiful lavender ball gown. It was covered with diamonds and pearls. Finally, the fairy godmother gave Cinderella a pair of glass slippers. "You're ready for the ball now," said the fairy godmother. "But you have to leave before midnight. That's when the spell will end." "I'll be sure to leave by then," said Cinderella. She was breathless with excitement. She climbed into the coach and hurried toward the castle. Music and laughter filled the castle. When Cinderella entered, a hush fell across the ballroom. No one knew the beautiful maiden in the sparkling gown. She was stunning. The prince walked over to Cinderella and held out his hand. For the rest of the night, the two danced and talked and fell in love. Finally, the clock struck midnight. "Oh, I must go," Cinderella cried. She ran down the stairs and climbed into the coach. As she rushed away, she left one of her glass slippers behind on the ground. The prince picked up the slipper and watched as the coach drove out of sight. The next morning, the prince was troubled. He did not know how to find his fair maiden. "I do not know her name," said the prince, "but I have her slipper." He sent his squire to find the girl whose foot fit into the tiny glass shoe. The squire went from house to house. He finally knocked on Cinderella's door. The first stepsister shoved her foot into the slipper. It wouldn't fit. The second sister squeezed hard. Her foot was too big. "May I try?" asked Cinderella. The sisters laughed, but the squire nodded. Every maiden was to try on the special shoe. Cinderella sat before the squire. She slipped her foot into the glass slipper. It was a perfect fit. She pulled the second slipper out of her apron pocket. The two sisters stared. The squire smiled. He had found the prince's true love. The entire kingdom celebrated the news. Soon Cinderella and the prince were married. Cinderella never again wore rags or scrubbed floors. She lived happily ever after.
Bom, espero que tenha gostado dessa aula, que tenha conseguido criar sua historinha paródia. Fique com Deus e até a próxima aula. Tchau!